Oscar wrestling standout booked in Nebraska on an outstanding warrant from Texas. AJ Ferrari, an Allen, Texas native, was booked into Lancaster County Corrections and faces extradition back to Texas. The Nebraska State Patrol had pulled him over after a trooper spotted a speeding pickup on I-80 near Waverly. The trooper found Ferrari had an outstanding warrant demanding his return to Texas, and he was taken to jail. Ferrari won a national championship along with the Big 12 title in 2021 and was Pac-12 champion last year. He transferred to Nebraska in June.